took, which the spot that I was explaining to you was, if I would have went down in there to get that card, it would have set me back days, you know, maybe a week. Problem is, I don't know what's on that card. He could be frequenting that stand daily, morning and night, you know, probably preferably in the evenings, because we're not hunting mornings right now. But what if he was on there and I went down there and bumped him, being too invasive, just wanting to pull the card, or just wanting to hunt that stand? Same theory, whether you're going in there to hunt or whether you're going in there to pull the card, you're being too invasive. Now, if you're only hunting that stand, you know, once every week or 2 weeks right now, not being too invasive, then you go in there, and before you get to the stand, like I say, you pull the card on an evening hunt, you bring that information back out with you, or you check it right there in the stand while you're hunting, and then you're off, and then you've got that intel going into the next hunt with the good weather, the good wind. So, moral of this whole video is, don't be invasive, don't get the early season push, you're forcing that lull is what you're doing. And the longer that you can not be involved in that, if you start in September, like I said, here in Kentucky, you're going to have a mid-September lull. I've already got people in this area, and ran into some folks in the Tractor Supply the other day. They were saying, yep, all the bucks they all moved to the Oaks, and we haven't seen anything. And well, guess what? We're 2 weeks into the season. So now you translate that to an October opener. You know, the folks that are opening in October, Michigan, a lot of the Midwest, a lot of the Northeast, you're going to have an October lull. It's the October lull is a real thing as far as not being able to see deer, but it's not what people think it is as weather related. It's all to do with pressure, like we said. So multiple stands early, cleaned out on private pieces, and do the work early. You probably see me posting those videos, sweating, you know, and it's not fun, but you have multiple opportunities to pick away at them at multiple different sets, and then you are a predator. If you think about this as a coyote, or you think about this as, like I've got, you know, the bobcats here on the farm here in Kentucky, they don't sit on the same carcass or same water hole, or they don't just sit there every night, every day, every night, and sooner or later the deer are going to